This week on Sci-Fi Buzz, another spine-tingling tour of haunted Hollywood. The fantasy trading card game that's become a world phenomenon. Getting a buzz at one of the country's most popular science centers. We discover more treasures from the movies in Bob's basement. And Deep Space Nine's Terry Farrell is a trill a minute.
You're subject to orders, Lieutenant.
Don't do it, Benjamin. Don't make me disobey a direct order.
Prepare. Stand by. The Buzz.
Movies. Personalities.
Sci-Fi. FX.
Behind the scenes.
Cutting edge. Get ready.
Welcome to Sci-Fi Central. This is Sci-Fi Buzz. I'm your friendly host, Mike Jarek. You know, it's not unusual for the staff to be debating like that. You know, they're always arguing about, is X-Files better than Twilight Zone, Alien versus Predator, Goofy versus Pluto? They'll argue about anything. But when it's time to kick back and relax, you know where we go? We go to LA's only sci-fi cafe. Oh, yes, there is one. Yeah, right here in Southern California. Where else, I know you're saying, would you find a cozy cafe with alien atmosphere? It's called the Nova Express Cafe. It doesn't open until 5 p.m. and closes at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, if you're an outsider that wouldn't be welcome at the Cheers bar, and our staff fits that description very well, this is the place for you. And on Saturday nights, they feature music that's definitely outside of the mainstream as well. In fact, the last time we were at the Nova Express Cafe, one of our staff members came up with this idea. Let's check out some more of those Hollywood hauntings. I think we did a story about this a couple months ago. Well, we went and did it again, and this is what we found.
Much of Hollywood's social history, unfortunately, has to do with great tragedies, tragic deaths, untimely deaths, unsolved murders. And there were always ghost stories attached to those kinds of stories.
Writer Laurie Jacobson began investigating tales of spirited showbiz spirits after spotting one behind the stage of the famed Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard.
I found out it's a ghost named Fritz. Fritz, a former employee, an unhappy person, killed himself in the theater, haunts it to this day. 3 years later, I found out that Fritz hung himself behind the movie screen.
Since Hollywood is Celebrity Central, Jacobson's book, Hollywood Haunted, focuses on the hangouts of exalted apparitions.
I think one of the earliest celebrities who is still seen to this day, his ghost is racing around Universal Studios, Lon Chaney Sr. He was the king of the silent screen horror films, and they built a special soundstage for the production of just one of his films, Phantom of the Opera. And to this day, people walk into that soundstage, stage 28. They don't know the history of the stage. Many are too young to know who Lon Chaney was. Yet they come out of there and say, hey, I just saw a guy in a cape running along the catwalks of the stage 28. Who was that? It was Lon.
Jacobson believes ghosts get a bad rap as mean, evil troublemakers whose mission is to haunt those of us who still have a pulse.
Spirits take on the characteristics that they had in life. After all, they were only human. If they were mean, nasty people, the spirit is going to be a mean, nasty spirit. If they were kind, loving people, the spirit will be a gentle spirit.
And given Hollywood's reputation as a land of loose morals, Jacobson says there are some kinky spirits roaming around as well.
Ozzie Nelson, Mr. America, right? He still haunts the soundstage where he shot The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, and he haunts his home where he and Harriet lived for more than 25 years, where they raised the boys, David and Ricky. And besides the usual ghostly goings-on there, the ladies who have lived in this house and have quickly moved out have been awakened in the middle of the night by unseen hands pulling back their covers and someone nuzzling at their necks. And let me just say that Ozzie has fast hands, okay?
Looks like some Hollywood legends relished fame so much they've returned for an eternal encore.
Sci-Fi Buzz.
Magic the Gathering is gathering millions of fans. And a summer safari to the Science Center. Stay glued.
I think the main appeal to Magic is that it's fun. And that's the key to any game.
A battle of intellectual athleticism was waged recently at Magic the Gathering's Pro Tour 2. 400 avid players from around the world competed for big bucks aboard the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California.
The absolute winner, the #1 placer in the junior competition at PT2, is 17 years old from Schaumburg, Illinois. He was a top 64 finisher at PT1 and has jumped up to take PT2. Let's hear it for Mr. Max Slagor.
Magic the Gathering is the biggest thing to hit the fantasy game world since Dungeons and Dragons appeared on the scene in the late 70s. The strategic trading card game was designed by Richard Garfield for Wizards of the Coast, a gaming company located in Renton, Washington. On hand at Pro Tour 2, the 33-year-old former mathematician witnessed a magic mania that continues to sweep not just the nation, but the world.
I liked seeing the same faces again and again, sort of seeing that community build. Well, there's another level to that. There's also sort of seeing the stars, seeing the people who are the favorites, and hearing what their deck plans are or what their drafting strategies are.
No, he just drew an island. Game is over. Game over.
Sean Hammer Rainier traveled all the way from New Hampshire to capture the title in the 18 and over senior tournament. After 5 grueling rounds of gameplay, he was handed a check for $17,000.
It all comes to training. I practice hard for this. I practice hard for the first one. If you call my wife and ask her, Magic is my life.
Here's the basic premise of the game. Each player assumes the part of a powerful wizard. Then, utilizing artifacts, spells, and grotesque creatures, among other things, they attempt to deplete their opponent's points and defeat them. Players use a personal deck made up from over 1,000 possible cards, each with its own unique artwork. Since the value of some cards is estimated to be in the $500 range, the collectability aspect of Magic has become as serious as the gameplay.
For years, any fantasy game you played took a stack of books and hours of preparation and then hours of time to play the game. Here's something that is very simple, but there are so many different pieces of art, so many different cards in this set. You have an infinite number of combinations and resources to choose from. So every time you play the game, it's completely different.
$1 million in prize money will be awarded at pro tournaments being held throughout the country this year. And Wizards of the Coast president Peter Atkinson says this is only the beginning.
It's a blast. In fact, I think the events side of things, you're going to see a lot of emphasis on that from us as a company. It's a way of getting out, interfacing with the gamers, interfacing with retailers, and each year we'll do it, and each year we'll do it better.
The world's greatest physical athletes will converge on Atlanta this summer for the Olympic Games. But just 2 weeks later, at the other end of the country, an international array of intellectual athletes will compete at Magic the Gathering's World Championships in Seattle. I've said it before and I'll say it again, don't ever walk in front of me. Plus, if you want to have fun with science, you've got to go to a science museum. Isn't that right, Jamie? Don't I say that all the time?
Whatever you say, you're the boss.
That's exactly right. Well, let me give you an example, Jamie, and to all of you in the audience out there. Let's go to the Liberty Science Center in beautiful Jersey City, New Jersey. The great thing about going to a science museum is that you can be yourself. Now, in my case, that means acting like a kid. When I really was a kid, museums were stuffy and boring. Today, science museums, actually they are frequently called science centers, are interactive and fun. And they're all across the country.
There are about 186 as of this year. 2 years ago when we opened, 26 opened that same year, including a major one in St. Louis, and then we were the largest of the bunch. But I think the reason is people want to get something for their entertainment dollar. You come here, you learn something, the families interact, you've taken something away with you. It's not just like going on a roller coaster again for a third or fourth time. You're learning, it's different every time.
Overlooking the New York City skyline from Jersey City, the Liberty Science Center has gotten high marks from writers and editors in many national publications. Upon entering, you immediately spot the Hoberman Sphere. And you say, wow, this expanding globe performs a 20-minute dance by opening and closing in a series of rhythms. But Buzzers, I don't do tours. You'll have to check out the 250 interactive exhibits here on your own. I'm just going to my 2 favorites.
Now this game is called Virtual Hoops. It's virtual reality basketball. Oh no, ooh, I hit him in the head. Hope he doesn't get angry at me. It's like being on the inside of a video game. Actually, behind me is just a blue chroma key wall, but the image is being projected on that wall over there, see? So I know what I'm doing, or kind of. Okay, watch this one. It's like playing against the pros. Well, kind of like I would play against the pros. Ooh. Oh, it went in! Good score! Ooh, wait a minute, that's football.
Have you ever been strapped into a pregnancy simulator? Well, I have. At the Liberty Science Center, they call it an empathy belly.
When women are pregnant, they're going through something that a lot of people don't understand. So we put the 40 pounds of weight on people and allow them to kind of walk around like this and see what it's like to be pregnant. And the reason we call it empathy is we want people to understand and feel sorry for all those pregnant ladies dragging all the weight around with them.
Doesn't this look like fun? Or this? Or how about this? I say, skip that movie or amusement park and instead check out a science center near you. It's like a roller coaster for your brain. Next, Deep Space Nine's Terry Farrell and more cast-offs from the movies turn up in Bob's basement. Stand by.
And now, once again, it's time to go to Bob's basement to visit one of the world's biggest collectors of science fiction memorabilia and a guy who really knows his way around a dumpster, Bob.
Bob, I'm a big George Powell fan. Do you have any of his stuff down here in your basement?
I have some stuff from one of his best movies.
Really?
Come on.
Oh my gosh, it's the time machine. Come on, Bob, let me take a ride in this.
No, it's too delicate, Mike.
You
yeah, I don't let people sit in there.
How old is it?
Well, it's 1960.
So what's it made out of?
Well, this is fiberglass. This is actually metal, all of the rods. This is wood. This is part plastic, metal. They just used anything. This prop cost $1,200 to build.
Really?
In 1960.
And the main focus of the whole film.
Of course.
The chair, do you know the history of that?
Yeah, well, it was actually it was a barber chair, only not a real barber chair. It was a barber chair. It was in the MGM prop department. The reason they used the barber chair is it had this backrest, and George Powell thought it looked like a pilot seat.
Was this just pieced together then?
Well, no, it was designed. I mean, he totally
actually designed it.
Oh, yeah.
First.
Yeah, he and Bill Farrar, who was the guy at the MGM art department,
yeah.
co-designed it. And like this dish is made out of fiberglass. And there are 365 of these little things here for each day of the year. So, I mean, they actually put some research into this thing. And it's supposed to be powered by some sort of crystal drive.
This is the fuel tank, right?
No, it's not the fuel tank.
Well, what is it?
Well, it's like the power pod, you might call it. You don't know what's in there. Something marvelous is in there and makes this work, you see. That's what keeps it so mysterious.
1960, probably ethyl gasoline, wouldn't you say?
I would think it probably was.
Do you let your wife get in it?
I have on occasion, yeah.
Does she go back and
She's tried to get away from me a couple of times.
I can imagine why.
But I fix it with a timer.
Mats.
Yes, mats. Yes, matte
Look
paintings.
at this.
Matte paintings, yes. Remember the inside of the Great Hall and the outside where he goes in for the Eloy are? Well, here is the inside of the Great Hall, the matte painting for this that Bill Brace did. Now, this was the only existing part of the real set, was right here. Just this wall, this doorway, and this part of the wall. Now, this is a photograph that the matte artist painted all of this on top of, including the foreground here. Then Rod Taylor would come through this door and walk here. Now, what they did a mat, a holdout mat, right here where this actual doorway photograph is, and put that scene in the film, so everything blends together. And then here's a storyboard, original storyboard art, before they really had it locked in what it was going to look like. Yeah, it was just an idea. Down here is frame counts for stop motion. Remember outside the window you see all the things happening? Yeah. Well, that was all stop motion stuff, puppet type things, and these are all frame counts for that. I mean, it's just an amazing amount of work that went in this film. Yeah. Probably to do just a scene like this, probably took about 18 hours to do something that lasted about 3.5 seconds in the scene.
What was the budget on this thing?
$750,000. That's it.
That's it?
That's all.
When you think of something like Waterworld, $200 million?
Right. Well, George Powell had a way of just pulling stuff off for nothing. Everybody loved the man.
Like using models and stuff.
Yeah, here's the Big Ben that was used in the opening title sequence. I always thought they went to England and shot a plate. I said, no, that'd be half the budget. So they made this model, and these are just photographs that they pasted onto the model.
So it's wood?
Yeah, that's all.
With photographs on it?
Yeah, see back here? We'll give away a trick here. That's all there is to it, folks. That's
Yeah,
lovely.
big budget, huh? Wow.
That's it. And here's a copy of the Morlock head. These are the bad guys, the beastie guys who were down in the caves and
Need
all
some
that stuff.
Pepto-Bismol or something,
It
huh?
wouldn't
How you
help him
feeling?
now. You know.
Whoa!
Oh, now see what
Ooh,
you've done.
dizzy.
You've given him a headache. Now remember in the film that he builds a prototype of this little one and he shows to his friends.
And sends it back in time.
Yeah, and he sends it back in time. Well, the original was burned up in the Bel Air fire in George Powell, but a friend of mine did a reconstruction. And this is an exact duplicate, but this one actually even works.
That's neat. Can I have that?
No.
Why not?
No, because...
In fact, you've never given me anything when I come over here. What's wrong with this? Why can't I have this?
Because if you have it, then I don't have it.
Oh. Well, at least let me sit in the big one. Come on, what do you say?
Oh, Mike.
I know you come down here, you and your wife, and you get in this. How far have you ever gone back in time?
I got to Anaheim. As far as I've ever got. Okay, you want to really sit in it?
Yeah, I'll just go down to 7-Eleven and come right back.
As long as you just sit in it, okay. You can
Really?
Sit. Yes, that's all right.
Now, how do I do it?
Just be careful. There you go. Just get in.
What's
That's
like
it.
this?
Yeah.
Is this how Rod did it?
Well, he did it a little bit better than that.
Oh, shut
but
up.
that's okay, because
All right.
he was an actor, too.
Oh.
That's the difference. All right, now.
Just take some off the sides.
Yeah, I could a little bit. Now, doesn't it feel great?
Do the lights and stuff still,
Everything
does it still
works
spin
and
and all
stuff.
that?
Yeah. Now, what you don't want to do, though, is don't push the handle up, please.
Why not?
Oh, Mike, look what you've done now.
Yes, this is great.
Man, oh,
You know, what's the big deal? God, it still spins. This is great.
Oh, thanks a lot, Mike. My best prop, too. Oh, man.
My name is Nick Crush, and I'm from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I recommend the Space Quest series by Sierra. It's a neat bunch of games that poke fun at all the great sci-fi classics. Space Quest 6 is the overall best. It has awesome, fully rendered CGI cutscenes along with a cartoon and CGI mixed gameplay.
Hey, folks, would you believe it? Paramount's Pocket Books has sold several 100,000 copies of this book right here. Oh, Dave, get some conditioner, will you? Check this out. The Klingon Dictionary, several 100,000 copies, and they say that the Star Trek popularity is waning. What are you, crazy? In fact, I think this last season of Deep Space Nine is maybe one of the best Star Trek TV series ever. Now, of course, I've been spending a lot of time over on the Paramount lot where they shoot the series, and I recently ran into Terry Farrell, so now I'm not only in love with the series, I'm in love with her.
I guess I've always had this nagging feeling I didn't have your complete confidence. I tried to push it aside, but now it turns out I was right. You never thought I was good enough to be a host.
As the Starfleet science officer on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Terry Farrell isn't just another pretty face. Her character, Jadzia Dax, is a trill, which is a joined species comprised of a host and a symbiont. So, while her lovely young body serves as a host, the symbiont that lives inside her is a wise 300-year-old life form that resembles a short, fat snake.
I've been a man, I've been a man.
Farrell, a former model, admits stepping into the Star Trek universe was a bit daunting at first. But now, after 4 seasons, she's amazed how comfortable she's become in this alien atmosphere.
The Klingons have their own set of laws. This is justice to them.
And to you?
I've chosen to respect their codes of honor in this matter, yes.
I think what makes you feel uncomfortable about getting so comfortable is that when people ask you about a storyline in a show or they didn't hear the whole thing, you can start talking about Klingons and Cardassians like they're real. So you'll catch people staring at you like, oh my God, how do you know so much about it? I mean, you know where they're from, you know what weapons they carry, and you know what their ships look like. It's just kind of strange.
All you have to do is relax and use your imagination.
I guess I don't have much of an imagination.
Of course you do. Everyone does.
Women have come a long way since the early days of Star Trek, when comely characters tended to serve as set ornaments rather than integral parts of the story. Watching the series as a kid in Iowa, Farrell wasn't fazed by the way women were cast as cheesecake. After all, those weren't her role models anyway.
Like they were like, I'm Barbie, watch my hair grow. Yeah, actually I wanted to be green. I used to want to be green. When I was a kid, we played Star Trek, and I'm totally serious. I don't remember the kid's last name, but his first name was Grant. He was always Captain Kirk, and I was the alien from another planet. So depending on what week, I had either bumps on my head or I was either purple or green.
I don't want to do anything to hurt you.
I did that before. I climbed into a shuttlecraft, and I made you a widow.
The women of Star Trek have made such strides in the last 30 years that mothers often praise Farrell for her portrayal of Dax as a strong yet sensitive character.
They're really nice like that. They thank me for giving their daughters a great example of a strong woman who hasn't lost her femininity, which I think is nice. I think there's a line where to be strong, you have to remind yourself you don't have to be mean, which also means the B word. You can just be strong and hold your ground, and that's an attractive quality in people. So how'd you like the program?
I found it adequate.
Lately, Farrell has been busy on and off the Star Trek set. She starred in the CD-ROM game Treasure Quest, which hit stores earlier this year, and she harbors hopes of playing Jadzia Dax on the big screen.
Sure, why not? I mean, really, how many times have we done it now? 26 episodes a year, we're in the 4th season. Why not a bigger, better version?
Okay, gang, it's time to pull the uplink on the satellite here. Hey, make sure you watch us again next week for Sci-Fi Buzz, but sometime during this next week, take some time. Call the Buzzboard line.
They invade your mind while you sleep. Twisted visions of your world gone mad. But this time you can't escape their grip because you're already awake. Nightmares, an anthology of horror, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, Sci-Fi Saturday. Now stay tuned for Inside Space next on the Sci-Fi Channel.